Guys for joining us today. So, yeah, we decided to do middle of the afternoon live just to give our people overseas the opportunity to really tune in and ask their questions. And so, yeah, we'll just give you guys a couple of minutes to filter into the live video. Welcome. Hello. Thank you guys so incredibly much for tuning in and viewing and being a part of this beautiful transmission. Excellent. So, some things that we are going to cover today. So we had some questions come in to the chat box. And one of the questions was, what is the difference between channeling spirit guides and star people? And so it's a density level. And the way the density, we really want to break down the actual definition of, the levels of consciousness, as well as, what does it mean to be more crystalline in your nature? And what does it mean to be 5D? And so a lot of people have this whole concept in their head. And I know that I had this concept too at one point until I really started fully interacting with the Arcturians. And so having this type of interaction with them has completely changed my mind of what the levels of consciousness actually mean. And so there are beings who are 5D who are both technologically advanced as well as spiritually advanced. And so each and every planet has the potential to hold 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D individuals on the planet at one time. And so when we sit here and we give an explanation as to Earth is 3D, that's not necessarily the case. It's a frequency range. And so the frequency range of the human collective consciousness grid, it can potentially shift. And so we do have monks on this planet who have levitated. And so we have individuals on this planet who have unlocked just enough of their crystalline DNA subsystems to allow them to download and activate different extrasensory abilities. And so what does that mean? I have one client that just bent a spoon. And so she did it twice. And that was after the star people told her to place focus on it and try and do it. And so you can see how that individual is holding a very high frequency because she's already starting to unlock her extrasensory abilities. However, there are some individuals on the planet who are very 3D focused. So there's still a lot of people will call it stuck in the matrix, but that's not what it is. It's just a different density level. And so that density can be considered when you are walking through water. It feels very dense, very slow. When a person is sick or experiencing tragedy, and so they may be experiencing darkness or chaos in their life. And so that movement of that individual, they may feel like time, space goes very slow. That's density. And so when we take a look at different levels of consciousness, it's a perception as well as a density. And so 2D organisms, they don't know that they am, right? And so you can take a look at a crystal, that's a 2D organism. They can hold memory, and so they can actually communicate, but they don't know that I am that, right? So when you step up to 3D, then all of a sudden the being will have a perception of, oh, okay, this is my body, this is what I am. And so that is what it means to be 3D. And so right now, a lot of us spiritually aware people, we're starting to raise into 4D. And that's because we're starting to open the perception of, I am not this body, I am everything. And so when you start to do that, it causes a tiny bit of chaos because the way the natural process of evolution occurs is through chaos. And so there has to be a problem to have a reaction and a solution. And so when you put all of this information together, you realize that 4D is a half note. It's kind of like a baby step into the 5D frequency. However, 5D frequency, there's two separate paths to unpack or unfold 5D. And so one of those paths is with technology. And so that technology can basically look like, let's say for an example, you're a human. And then all of a sudden you have expanded your awareness and you have developed all of this wonderful technology and you have basically solved the world problems around you. And so now all of a sudden, all the people on the planet, they have access to food, they have access to water, they can instantaneously manifest their needs on demand in real time, but you are using technology. And so you are not using spirituality. And that is the main difference. So a lot of species in the solar system, they are using both technology and spirituality. And so the spirituality, it really starts to unlock and unpack your psionic abilities, which is basically the ability for advanced linguistics, communications. That's what the star people are saying. However, it's more than that. It's more because you're able to move matter with your mind. You are able to change the subatomic particles with your mind. And so what does that mean? That means if you have, they're showing me a glass of water, and then with your focus or your perception, you can imagine that atoms and molecules are under a certain state of speed. Now, if it's a very rapid speed, you're going to make the water boil. And so by using your focus, you can change the atoms and molecules, which then change the perception of the item in the physical reality. No reality is actually physical, though. It is all spiritual. And so the difference in the levels of consciousness is just a difference in your perception and a difference in your density level. Because when you are overexcited or happy or in love, joy, and bliss frequencies, it allows you to tune into the crystalline frequencies, which then in turn, everything that you need will land at your feet. And so this is where we see that 5D is a frequency wave of instantaneous manifestation. And so that's how the technology path, they have replicators. They also have different types of advanced technology, which allows them to do different mathematical sequences in the physical reality to gain structures, they're saying. And so what does that mean? He's showing me that they can manifest houses. And so a regular replicator, he's saying, may be tiny. And so you may be able to get a pen, a bottle of water, a crystal out of the tiny replicator, but they have expanded it so it's large enough so that they can put structures and remove structures. This way, our civilization does not cause harm to the planetary species that we embody, is what the star people are saying. Yeah, excellent. Of course, the layers of consciousness go higher and higher, but it's a duality universe that we are experiencing. And so whether or not we choose to manifest spiritually, which many individuals watching this live are choosing to do. And so I know I am. I know that we can heal the physical form instantaneously. It took me 2.5 weeks to remove my pain. I used to be a cripple. And so if I can do that, anyone can do that. And this is why you'll see stories about people who get serious, hardcore diagnosis of cancer. And then they're given, an expiration date. So you got 6 weeks to live. So what do? They sell all their stuff, and then they go and they move down to a beach on the Bahamas. And then all of a sudden they're healed in about 6 weeks. And so what did they do? The only thing that they did was they changed their location, because your environmentals play a significant role on your biological frequency. And so they changed their location code, which then in turn allowed a shift in their biological frequency. But because they're grounding to the earth, maybe standing on the beach, they're discharging the negative ions in their energetic grids as well as the physical form. And there's an anti-inflammatory process that happens after you ground yourself to the earth for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And so your blood changes when you are earth grounding. This is something scientifically that we can see happening. So if they drew blood and then they put you on a grounding mat for 1 hour and then they took blood again, everyone would be able to see a significant difference. And so what we really need is we need people to start manufacturing the sneakers, right? And putting copper into the sneakers. This way the copper will help induct the electrical frequency from the earth, which then in turn will allow us all to be more connected. Now, the star people are stepping forward and saying there is also a consciousness shift that occurs when human beings become grounded fully to the earth. And so that consciousness shift basically looks like the individual connects into the human consciousness grid, which then in turn allows for a flow of information to be primarily established. And so this is going to increase the bright ideas that you may have, as well as any ideas of how to problem solve and gain solutions to any environmental issues that you may be having in the now moment. But it's more than environmental, he's saying. It's even tiny problems. He's saying the solutions will be downloaded because you are grounding out to the earth. And so nobody really takes that into consideration, because I don't even think about that. Grounding to the earth or just standing on the earth barefoot is going to change the way I think. That's wild. And so we really want to try sleeping on the earth. And so There's no way I'm going outside. It's cold. I don't want to do that. So what I will do is I will get an earth grounding blanket, and then I will sleep on the blanket. This way, my physical form is grounding out for about 8 hours, 9 hours during the night. And so that's one way. And then just see. Now, also, if you have the ability to turn off any and all electronics in your bedroom and block out any of the light. And so this will actually start to help your systems reset. And it also helps the circadian rhythms. So each and every electrical outlet has been set to a frequency which causes distortion or disease to manifest in the physical form. A lot of times we are unaware of this. And so we don't consciously see that it's having an effect on us. But the second that you clean it up, you feel better. And so that means that it is having an effect on us, even if we don't realize it. So just give it a try. If you can disconnect the Wi-Fi while you're sleeping at night, put the cell phone, all the electronics will be in the kitchen, shut everything off. I have a salt lamp. And so even that, now I unplug everything. I have a TV, I unplugged it. It hasn't been plugged in a very long time. And so when you sleep without the noise of the electricity, you will sleep better. And so you'll connect into the circadian rhythm a lot better. You'll also receive earth downloads and activations. And so you have to realize that each location code, the star people are stepping forward saying, each location code on Mother Earth is constantly shifting in its frequency, because the Schumann resonance flows up the earth like this, and then it flows up the physical form like that. And so when you change the physical form and the way, this is kind of works the same way as yoga. So when you change, so let's say you're laying flat, the earth frequency goes up like this instead of up like this. And so what is that doing? You're actually tuning into different meridians and ley lines of the actual physical form and the energetic grid structure. And so that really starts to rebalance your energetics. However, they're saying there's also a magnetic effect that needs to be taken into consideration, because something to do with the way the sun comes up in the east and the west, and you are meant to sleep with your head to the east, and then you are meant to rotate and sleep with your head to the west. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to start to rebalance the biological magnetic grid, which is directly tuned into your heart chakra and your emotional grids. So when you are tuned into Mother Earth's magnetic grid, they are saying that it removes any blocked emotions to a degree, but it connects into the human consciousness grid, which then in turn allows you to download or recode your emotion grids back into a positive polarity. And so just imagine Mother Earth is whooshing away any negative or dense, dark emotions that you are holding inside. That is the capability that Mother Earth can do to heal each and every one of us. For the connection that we have with Mother Earth is beyond anything that we are fully aware of. So you can make contact and communication with the houseplant. And I know that sounds a little bit odd, but it is possible, especially if you use technology, because when you start to use electrical magnetism readers on the plant, you can speak to the plant and you will notice that the plant will make a tone or a sound or an electrical magnetism embodiment. And so we can see this now with technology. And so certain plants like flowers, they actually release a pheromone, which is also attached to a smell. And so when you have flowers in your house and you walk in after a long day's work, that flower is trying to get your attention. So that flower is actually going to sit there and it's going to release the smell. This way you smell it and then you look at the flower, and then all of a sudden there is a telepathic communication that may exist amongst the trees and the plants and the owner or the person in the local vicinity. And so this is important because your flower may be telepathically telling you, I'm thirsty, I need water. And so you may just have the thought in your mind, oh, okay, maybe she needs water. And then you go and give it water. But you don't think that it's telepathic communication, but it is. And so now take this one level deeper. Now, what happens when you walk in the forest, especially if you're barefoot? Especially if you're in a creek, because you're using water and the water holds the memory. So when you do this, and all of a sudden you can close your eyes, you can consciously connect into Mother Earth, and you can tell Mother Earth, thank you for gifting me with the plant that I need to heal myself. Now you have to realize your biological form, there is a two-way communication between us and the local environment. And so underneath your nails, there's like little tiny areas where it absorbs and puts information from the earth into your bloodstream. And so what does that mean? That means when you are out foraging in the forest, or you are touching Mother Earth or handling nature, all the bacteria and germs, you get tiny micro doses of it, which then in turn starts to change and amplify your immune system, protecting you. That is the same exact thing that a vaccination does. And so when you go outside and you play in the dirt and you touch Mother Earth, she's sending you all these code. It's a code, right? It's an energetic code that becomes downloaded into your biological form, which then in turn, it attunes you to the local environmentals and it starts to raise your frequency. So it is a form of connection with Mother Earth. Now, they are saying this process also happens when you are barefoot, because your bottom of your foot, it is known to absorb nutrients as well as expel waste, they're saying. And that's why your feet sweat, because it's getting rid of waste, they're saying. And so when you start the process of walking barefoot on the ground, then all of a sudden you can tell with your consciousness and with telepathy, you tell Mother Earth, thank you for gifting me the plant I need to heal myself. Now, because there is a two-way communication, she can pull the toxins out of your body, and energetically speaking, she can read the toxins because it's going into her soil and it's going onto her. And so when she reads the toxins that are coming out of you, now all of a sudden her consciousness grid will say, well, this human needs X, Y, and Z plants. And so the manifestation process will start. And she, because she is a conscious sentient being, she will find a way to put that plant where you're like, oh, here it is. So many times when we are sick, we don't realize that we are supposed to be looking in our backyards and checking out what plants have grown next to us. And so heart disease is the number one thing going on, especially in America right now. And so take a look at everyone's front lawn. We have dandelions everywhere. And that's not by mistake. That's because of the connection that we share. And if your heart chakra has an imbalance, then all of a sudden Mother Earth is going to say, well, that human needs this plant. So poof, they put it here. And not only did that plant pop up to cure heart disease, but have a look at the plant and the children, because the children believe that that plant is magical. And so every single one of us, when we were children and our children now, they pick up that plant, they make a wish and they blow it, and they blow the seeds everywhere. So 9 times out of 10, if you ask the children, what was your wish? My wish was to heal the planet. And that's what this is doing, because when you heal the hearts of men, then all of a sudden the planet can start to heal as well. Yeah. Is there any questions? Let's see. Yeah, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you. I cut my hair myself. It was a total crazy move. But yeah, it came out really good. Thank you. Okay, oh, I froze. Thank you, thank you. Let's see. Okay, no questions so far. Excellent. So we'll go on. Let's see. Okay, so what's the difference between channeling spirit guides and star people? And so that was the original question. You have to realize the levels of consciousness that we are talking about, because star people are still, the star people I communicate with are still in a physical form. And so not all of them though. Let me explain. And so the Arcturians, for an example, they're in a physical form. They still have relationships. They make babies. They have technology. They're very loving, caring, kind, and very spiritual. The ones that I interact with. That does not mean that every single Arcturian on their planet is like that. That just means that the ones who hang out with me are all love and light, and they really want to help us evolve. They not only want us to evolve the psionic abilities or the instantaneous manifestation abilities, they want us to go all the way. And so what does all the way mean? There is a process of full light body activation that we have the ability and capability of activating anytime that we see fit. And so I'm not big on religion. However, the story of Jesus is a prime example of how this works, because that man was walking around and he was manifesting fish and he was turning wine into water and doing all of these instantaneous manifestations. That's having the ability, that's holding a 5D frequency. But then all of a sudden he activated his light body. And so we can see the Shroud of Turin. And so that's what that was. He activated the rainbow body of light, which then in turn skipped him up the levels. And so that is like the angels. If you think about how an angel is, they are very, very high frequency being of light. And so we can also make contact and communication with them. They're in the Star People organization because the Star People work with them. And so there's a bunch of religious figures who step forward as well too, because we have like the Magdalene Collective. It's a feminine energetic, but it's a collective consciousness. So when you get up the scales to a certain degree and you realize that everything is one, you start looking at every single person on the planet becomes evolved to such a degree where it's one person communicating to all of those different people. And that's a very high level consciousness, but that is also below the rainbow body of light activation. The rainbow body of light activation basically levels you out of the physical reality altogether. And so your Merkaba field will fully activate and it will counter rotate. That kind of acts like your individual UFO. So you are able to program the Merkaba field and tell it where to teleport you, and it will. And so all of these things are real. It just depends on what density you're holding. Now, that is not even beginning to step into what's parallel realities. And so parallel realities, the layers of consciousness go in circles and squares. And so we have a bunch of squares and we have a bunch of circles in between. And so the parallel realities can be seen as a different line next to, right? And so you can shift from this moment to this moment to this moment. We are shifting billions of times each and every second. And so, but we're shifting into parallel realities, which look and feel extremely similar to the reality that we were just in. But every single time your heart beats, you are shifting about 1 billion times. And so we don't see the shift, but it looks like a picture with a picture behind it and a picture behind it. And it is flipping very, very rapidly. And so I've seen the way that this looks, so I know exactly what it is. But those are how the reality shifts. When you make a biological frequency change to you, then that means you can either change your emotion code, so you can go to really, really happy, which is going to, this flipping of the realities is going to put you in a higher density level timeline. And so what that means is, that means that you're going to start being more crystalline in your nature. Your crystalline DNA strand is made up of 12 different strands, which then in turn start to activate. And that is where the extrasensory abilities are located. So when you start to tune into higher density levels, that's love and light. When you start to hold your emotion codes on a higher level, that's going to tune you into higher realities in which instantaneous manifestation as well as time-space abilities start to fully unlock. And so when you unlock the time-space abilities, that is going to allow you to pick and choose what time you wish to manifest into in the now moment. And so what does that mean? That means if you want to go back, close your eyes, ask your consciousness to shift you back into your childhood so that you can make a change to your childhood. This is your personal childhood. This is not using technology to time travel and make changes. That doesn't work, because the timeline that you shift back into turns out to be your future. And so using the technology to do it doesn't work. However, using your consciousness, you can pull yourself back, go back into your time of your childhood. You can make changes there, which then in turn, when you open your eyes through the meditation process, you will notice that something has changed. And so a lot of times the way the Star People tell us to start using that ability is to really look at the childhood, but then start to heal the traumas that you had. So how do we do that? We look at the memory of the childhood, which technically when you close your eyes and you're bringing up a memory, what's happening is your consciousness in the now moment is fully embodying that memory picture. Now imagine that the reality is a picture behind a picture. So your process of visualization is pulling that memory to the conscious mind. So it is a form of time travel. We just don't see it that way because we've been trained that we are in a physical reality. Physical reality does not work the way that we think it works at all. And so you bring that childhood moment to your conscious mind, and then you send it love and light, you release it, you heal it. If you have to cry, you cry, because when you cry, the tears are salt water. And so you are releasing the emotions from inside your physical form. And then when you take a shower and you use salt water, it is clearing the emotional grid that surrounds your energetic grid structure. And so when you go through your childhood and you start removing and releasing and healing all of these things, when you open your eyes out of the meditation, how does it make you feel? How does it feel to heal something in your childhood? Now, this is very important to fully understand the concept, because when you have a trauma and it is something from your childhood, it can even be your teenage years, or it can even be 5 years ago, from whatever age you are. When you have a trauma from your past, that trauma changes the way that you think in the now moment. And so here's one example. Let's say you get attacked by a dog. then all of a sudden you have a fear of being attacked by a dog. Now 20 years goes by and now you come into contact with a second dog. Well, the first thing that your biological form is going to do, because your heart fires up, you're going to fire off a fear of being attacked by a dog. So that new dog, the second dog, is going to feel your expression of fear, and he's going to respond and he's going to attack you. But if you would have went into the childhood and you would have healed that fear, then when you would have reached out and seen the second dog, you wouldn't have fired off a fear-based emotion, which then in turn would have changed the manifestation of your physical reality. And so you have to go through and you have to heal yourself, because it changes who you are in the now moment, which is of high value to each and every one of us. Not only that, but remember when I was telling you guys about the density levels? So the density is the happiness, sadness scale. When you are sad, you feel like you are walking with a ton of bricks on your back, or you feel like you have to walk through water, or you cannot go to a large enough location circle. So a lot of people, they stay in their bed and they get depressed. And so that is a very sad on the density level. What happens when you start tuning into the happiness level? Then all of a sudden time flies. So you can actually go to a million places and you can feel like the entire day rushed right by you. And so this is how we start to realize when you start to heal all the childhood trauma, you're actually raising your density level. When you start to raise your density level, you start to crystallize, and your biological form starts to become more crystal in its nature. And so what does that mean? You have an energetic grid structure that completely surrounds your physical form. That is directly connected into the crystalline DNA strands. It's a 12-strand DNA that is tucked inside the DNA system. And so that is connected to the energetics. So whether you are sending energetic signals to the crystalline DNA grid, which then in turn starts to turn on that grid, which starts to have an effect on the DNA in the body, that's one way of doing it. Or you can focus on the DNA in the body, and then it starts to activate the grid. It's all connected. When you do one, it automatically is going to have an effect on the second one. And so, yeah. Hey, Fabio, welcome. Time healing applies to locations also. Yes, and that's very, very true. And actually, we can go into grid workers, because a lot of my people here are grid workers. And so when you start tuning into Earth's grid, and so just imagine that we have an electrical grid structure and a magnetic grid structure that fully surrounds our bodies. So this can radiate out to 6 feet or more. You can actually place focus and do manifestations to make it very, very far. And so I've done that, and I've done that so that my energetics heal all people who come within my energy field. And so now when people come into my grid, they can feel it. And they feel like a discharge or a weight is lifted off of them when they feel the energetics. That's nothing special. You can do it too. All you have to do is do the manifestations and focus on your energy and really send not only yourself, but your energetics, love, and light. Thank you, energetic grids, for healing all the people who come into contact with me. And that's it. And it will change your frequency. This works the same exact way as a crystal. So the crystals, they give us a biological frequency. So your energetic grids absorb the frequency after less than a minute of you holding the crystal. So when you start to say manifestations, you have to use the heart chakra. The heart is your emotions. So your emotions open up. They are magnetic in nature. So your thoughts are electrical in nature. This is where the chi energy gets projected. So when you project magnetics with electricity, then all of a sudden it has a sound effect on your energetic grids. This is how you do it. So you tell your energetic grids or your aura field, whatever name you want to give it, you tell it, thank you for healing people. Or you can even, while you're driving in traffic, let's say you're the passenger in a car, so you're safe, you can start to relax your heart. And so really take a couple deep breaths, come inside yourself. And now just imagine sending this love-based emotion to all the other cars and thanking the universal source frequency to slow down the other cars and allow the other cars to raise in frequency, making everybody drive very peaceful. And now I'm from New York, and those people try and cut you off and they try and kill you. And so I know for a fact, when you start to come into your heart, your frequency comes out the crown chakra and it surrounds. You can blast this up to 200 miles. And so, but when you do this and all of a sudden your perception shifts, you're actually making a timeline shift because you are changing the density that you are holding because you are projecting love and light. And so when you change the density, it puts you on a timeline in which it's more of a probable outcome for you. It's a more favorable probable outcome, they're saying. And so it puts you on a higher love-based emotional timeline in which the accidents don't happen. Now, anyone who's ever seen a car accident has known time-space seems to slow when you see that car accident. So why is that? That's because of density. So when something traumatic or very negative or low frequency is about to happen, then you are tuning in to this frequency wave of density. And so tragedy is very, very low. It's very slow. And so you may see the entire car accident in very slow motion. And that's because now the second that people realize this, and you realize when you step into a location code, that location code has a direct impact on your physical form. So let's say that someone of a very high density level, so someone who's very love and light, let's say they accidentally drive into the hood. And so now they're in a really negative, toxic environment. Well, I've had experiences where I was a kid where the police pulled me over and they were like, you don't belong here. And they actually drove me out so I could find my way out because I was lost. And so things like that, the hologram will reorganize itself to make you safe when you are not in alignment with the location code that you are experiencing. And so, but once again, you have to come into your heart and you have to be happy and thankful and you have to know that you're protected. Because when you do that, then all of a sudden the universe puts you in a place in which you are safe and protected. And so becoming in divine alignment is very simple. It has everything to do with opening your heart chakra and really allowing a love-based emotional frequency. Emotional is magnetic. Allow this emotional magnetic frequency to really wash over your physical form. And so this is the main reason that people tell you, follow your highest passion. Because what are you doing? What is your highest passion? It's the thing that you love the most. And so when you focus on the thing that you love the most, it's automatically firing off a love-based emotion. However, it's also firing off your excitement. Your excitement is directly connected into the time-space frequency wave. Because when you are happy and excited, time seems to fly. And so all of these systems, they're subsystems, but they're all connected and they all work with the emotions and the thought grids in the physical form. And so you are the projector of these thoughts and emotions. So what are you guys doing to make yourself happy and loved? That's the main question. None of this physical reality nonsense and you know, none of this really matters. What matters is the emotions and where you are directing the emotions. That's what matters. Because if you shift your emotional frequency into a higher frequency, love-based emotion, then all of a sudden the timelines shift. So what you see outside your door can potentially shift, and you don't have to see that. And so the way that this works in with the physics is you have a source frequency lens that is above your head. Now, actually, one of my commenters, they called it a Stargate. And I think that that's a perfect representation of what it is. The star people told me it was a 12-pointed Merkaba field. And so just imagine your Merkaba is 6 points. It's the Jewish star has 6 points. Well, they told me that one is magnetic and one is energetic. And so you put them both together, that's that Stargate. And so each one has different emotion codes. You have to unlock each emotion code with a positive and negative polarity. And so we're going to take greed for an example. And I think I was just telling everyone this on last night's video too, but let's take greed for an example. So greed is a negative emotion code. And so we want to, the law of polarity, we have to experience both. And so now we have selflessness. When you hold both emotion codes, they interlock and they open up one of those points. Now there's 12 lower vibrating emotion codes, and then there's 12 positive ones that heal them. And so when we have something like childhood trauma, right? Think about that childhood trauma as if it is one of your 12 points. It's a lower vibrating experiential emotion code. And so we are told to add love and light into those emotion codes to heal the childhood trauma. And so what are you doing? You are, by the law of polarity, you are adding love to the negativity. It cross cancels it. It unlocks that grid. When you unlock all 12 of those grids, then all of a sudden you are actually allowed to pull your soul form or your astral body, your light body. You can actually pull it up during meditation. The flower will open on the top of the crown chakra. There's a flower up there. And so that opens, you can actually feel it. It's like a pulsation, but you could feel it opening. And so your heart chakra, the higher self, will fully embody the heart chakra. And once again, that it's like the pineal gland. It opens like a flower. This one opens like a flower. The pineal gland, it opens like a flower, but it's a pine cone. Right. So all these three things, they look the same. And 333 is a synchronicity. And so when you have a look at 333, you realize that the pyramid is a shape of a 3. So the source frequency and how that frequency blasts down and forms the physical body and then forms the actual external reality and the solar system reality. And so let's dive into that. Now you have the source frequency lens, and that comes down as 3 different frequencies. And so you have your binary codex frequency, you have your experiential frequency, and you have your location code. And so all 3 of those frequencies, they start in the shape of a triangle, but then they spiral like the DNA. And so that energetic is coming all the way down this lens, down the flower, down into the physical form. It's coming circular. And so even though it starts as a triangle, right, it's coming down, it's spiraling. But when it hits your heart, it's the 0 point. And so then it radiates out in a circle and it ripples out. But then when it comes back in, it forms a sacred geometric snowflake. And so why is this important? This is important because everyone has been telling you guys, when you change your thoughts and emotions, you change your physical reality. This is how it works. This is how the physics shows us. And so this information was given to me by the star people. So I don't know if any of the physics on this planet know it, but this is what they say. This is what the physics shows us. And so you can see this energy coming into the body. You can see it expanding out. When you change your biological frequency, what you're actually doing is before this energy ripples out, you're making a frequency modification to it. And so let's say, for an example, you want to change the physical form. Then all of a sudden, you're going to take this energy. It's your binary codex frequency that controls your physical form. So your hair color, your eye color, your teeth, all this stuff is controlled by the binary codex frequency. And so you go inside yourself. You want to tune into the subconscious mind because that's actually your computer programming station. And so you want to go inside yourself and you make changes and modifications to that frequency wave. That's how you can instantaneously heal your body. So many times the beginning stages is send it love and light. When you send it love and light, you're changing the frequency code, which changes the way your physical body is, right? That's how it manifests. However, the source frequency ring has 3 different levels to it because everything in the physical reality is manifest by 3s. And so this is the reason why as well, the star people are saying when a conscious thought comes down into the physical reality, it is always broadcast into 3 individuals at the same time. And this is because of the sacred geometry of the shape of the triangle. And this is the reason why the pyramids contain that triangle. And it works with vortex energetics. So they're saying the entire system blends together and it works together with the sacred geometry and quantum physics. So when you start the process of going inside and making changes, the 2nd degree of the source frequency ring will actually control your external location. And so what does that look like? The star people say it is your home, your car, it is your office where you go to work. Any locations that you see on the television are also included in the secondary ring. Any locations that you experience throughout the day. So when you start to make changes into the secondary layer of that ring, you are changing the location codes for all of these different locations that you are going to be witnessing or interacting with. The 3rd degree of that ring is the universal one. And so the universal one actually controls planets. So let's say, for an example, you wanted to change the name of a planet. We all have the ability to go inside, change the frequency, which then in turn, when we open our eyes, it changes the manifestation of that planet. And so pyramids, we have, and a lot of people ask me for the history of Earth. The history of Earth, it's there to teach you to unlock your belief systems. That is what history is for. And so history repeats. It is a cycle. It is a circle. And that's why this energy, it comes down in a circle. It spirals though. So it is circular because it is spiraling like the DNA. If I had a computer animation, you guys would see it so much. Like I can see what they're showing me. And so all of these things fit together. And when you start to make changes, it comes in the form of electrical and magnetic, so thoughts and emotions. And when you place the conscious focus on that source frequency lens, it allows you to make big changes. Now, The only thing that is changing is your perception of the physical reality. And so what does that mean? That means that what you are magnetically in alignment with is what you will be allowed to perceive into the physical reality. And so what you believe, you perceive. And so if you believe that there is a UFO above your house, you will match the frequency needed to allow access into the vision of that UFO. However, there may be someone standing next to you and they do not believe. And so they will not be in alignment with witnessing the UFO. And so you always want to go through the belief systems. Your belief systems are directly tied into a veil structure. And so what does that look like? That looks like, just imagine for 1 second that you are a pure being of light. Okay. This light, we cover it with the physical. And so your body is the physical. But what does that even mean? And so I'm telling you that we are pure light, energetic, magnetic beings. And the physical reality is a shade. All of it is a shade because it is a density. And density, we can change the perception of density by changing our emotional scale. And so when we really start to change our belief systems, it's like pulling a shade off of your energetic grids, which then in turn allows more light to shine through. When you do this, it automatically starts to tune into the binary codex frequency. The binary codex frequency, imagine that there's an egg and a sperm. And so when they combine, there's actually a flash of light that takes place. You need proper technology to actually snap a photo of that light. And so, but what the star people do, they grab the frequency code of that light and then they store the frequency code. Now they know your binary codex frequency. And so the binary codex frequency, let's say you break your arm. Well, that means that the binary codex frequency in the arm was distorted. So it had a lower density level in your arm, which allowed for that experience to fully manifest. And so when they take the binary codex frequency, now they just fix the frequency code in the arm. And then all of a sudden your arm is perfectly healed. And so this is the type of technology that the star people have. It's amazing. It's wonderful. Right. And so we really need to take that technology. And because we don't have that technology down here on the earth, we need to start accessing it from the spiritual realm. So how can we change our binary codex frequency? Well, the way that they told me to do it is just imagine or visualize that there's an energetic grid surrounding your arm and send it love and light. What that's doing is it's raising the density level of the energetic grid that is directly connected in with your arm. So it's going to change your frequency coding in that area, which then in turn, when you raise the frequency, it heals. And so if you had a paper cut and you spent a little bit of time sending love and light to the paper cut, because you were putting conscious focus on the paper cut, you're going to watch it heal much quicker. And so this is the same exact technique as staring at a plant and thanking the plant, loving the plant, and watching the plant grow 10 times its original size. If I showed you guys my plant, you'd be bewildered. Like, I think that's the word. But the leaves were very tiny. And so now you look at the plant and the leaves are like this big. It's just, it's a totally different plant. And that's from doing like the Reiki energetics, right? So we send love and light. And then we put crystals and we do all sorts of other things. And, but the plant has grown 10 times its size. And so this information is solid, it's sound, it's scientifically proven. Now let's speak on vortex energetics, because the star people are saying that tunes directly into the source frequency lens. And so vortex energetics are naturally amplified by the Schumann resonance. And so this is the reason why they put the pyramids where they put them, because the Schumann resonance back in that time, the star people are saying, was very high in those particular location codes. However, there was a secondary reason why they put the pyramids there, because the pyramids were able to catch all of the Schumann resonance and they were able to beam a vortex, and they were properly aligned with different planetary bodies, which then in turn allowed a healing process to take place to that planet as well, the one that was in alignment. And so there are multiple reasons for the pyramids being in the location spots. They're also saying that there were certain areas of meridian lines and ley lines on Mother Earth's energetic grid structure, which they placed pyramids onto, because wherever a meridian and a ley line crosses, that intersection is a higher Earth frequency than any other location. And so they tried to use that to their advantage. And they're also saying that there was also technology that they also used with the pyramids. So it did generate free energy technologies. And so that was broadcast up into the human consciousness grid, they're showing me, which then in turn allowed the individual to hold a device and it would generate the free electricity, would tune into it. But it was a planetary event. It wasn't just local. So it wasn't like the Tesla machine, because they're showing me that the Tesla machine, you could put it in a location, it would generate the free electricity for that location. What they're saying is the pyramids, they beamed the information or the electricity, which is information, directly into the human consciousness grid, which then in turn allowed it to cover the entire planet. And so that's a very high level of civilization that humanity was at. And then we fell. Why did we fall? We did fall many, many times. And this is actually in alignment with the physical reality. Now, Earth is kind of like a school. And so there was a catastrophe a long time ago, which dropped us basically to a level 0 consciousness. Now, what does that mean? And so that means, like, imagine you standing here in this very moment, and then all of a sudden your memory is completely wiped to a level 0. So you don't remember your name. You don't remember how to survive. You don't remember what foods to eat. You have to start all over. So that was kind of like it was a catastrophe. And so when that happened, now all of a sudden humanity had to climb the ranks of consciousness again, which is why we have the Starseed program, because the Starseeds came here in order to ensure that humanity's consciousness grid was going to raise to such a degree in which when the solar flash comes, they actually evolve this time. So the Star people did assure me, because I was concerned at one point, and they said, don't worry, they made it. We made it. Everybody made it. So not everybody, but the loving, caring, kind, 51% loving, caring, kind people. The way that the evolutionary shift works, the Star people are saying, is by the solar flare comes and it hits the planet Earth. And then anybody who is in alignment with a loving, caring, kind density level, their density shifts and it allows them access into the 5D frequency. What you guys are seeing on your planet right now is 4D. So 4D is a lot of chaos. It's because it's like a half note. And so when the solar flare happens, 51% loving, caring, kind, you make it into 5D. Not everyone is going to make it into 5D, and that's okay too. There are certain extraterrestrial plans to remove people who aren't 51% loving, caring, kind, and transport them. And so that could potentially be happening as well. They don't really know, and it's all potentials, because the Star people don't really tell us what's going to happen. They tell us in potential. So they say, well, there's a high potential of this happening, but then tomorrow the potentials can shift. And so they just want everyone to be aware of that. Also, they want everyone to know that each and every one of you guys watching, you guys can all make contact and communication with them directly. Just ask for the Arcturians or the Star people. The Star people include angels, guides, religious figures. I don't really like talking about those people, but they come forward. Like it's I don't know. They're here. They're listening. Sometimes a lot of people can feel them or see them behind me. So it happens. Yeah. And they're all love and light, and they really just want to help with the evolutionary process, right? And so activation of psionic abilities, having the ability to move items with your physical mind, that's another one. And so having the ability to communicate with someone across the solar system, that's telepathy. And so there's telepathy. We're empaths. Most of you guys woke up to the empath ability first. And so you realized, oh, I can feel emotions. I'm an empath. And so that is normally like one of the earlier stages in the process of evolution. It's waking up. And so when you unpack that and then you realize that, and then you realize, well, I can project thoughts and emotions, and then other people could tune in. You guys tune into thoughts and emotions. Everybody does. So when we're at like a party or something, if somebody really negative or toxic walks in the room, you can feel it right away. And so there's no getting around that. Each and every one of us has had experiences like that. So when you start to realize this isn't something that you have to unlock, this just is who you are and what you are capable of tuning into, because each and every one of us, this is what we are. And so I'm an 80s baby. And so we used to hold the television antennas. And why is that? Because our bodies are frequencies. They're frequency antennas, as well as we can project them. And so it used to make the TV work. So we can use our body like an antenna to receive, or we can cast, we can project. And so, yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, thank you guys so much for the comments. Okay. Let's see. Okay, sometimes I connect to something. I think it's a Kundalini. I've been overwhelmed with bliss and my body locks up. The energy came up in me and formed around me. It was propelled up. Yeah. So the Kundalini actually has 6 different channels inside of the physical form. And so I want you to see earth is on the left, air is on the forward, earth, air, fire is on the right. That's your chi energetics. That's your fire. And water is in the spinal cord. And so a lot of people know about the water one because the cerebral spinal cord fluid, when you pull it up, it actually taps into the pineal gland and it opens and activates the pineal gland, which allows you access into the astral realm. However, the air one, you have to use the air to work with the water. And so there's different meditation techniques where you can use all of the elementals. Now, what are you doing when you're calling upon the elementals? You're actually activating the different Kundalini channels in your physical form. And so there's 2 primary channels that run in the direct center of your body. And so there's a light wave one, and that one's directly in the center. And then there's a dark matter that covers it. And so that's, the fire and the ice, basically. And so when you start the process of activating all of these different Kundalini channels, now they are connected to the sacral chakra. So there is a form of sensitivity attached to each and every one of these. And so most people start to activate the basic Kundalini channels, which is the earth and the fire. And so your magnetic energy and your chi energetics. So electrical, magnetic, and those are left and right. And so that one, it kind of crisscrosses, but it doesn't crisscross in a 2-dimensional pattern. It vortexes up like your DNA. They don't have a way to write it that way. So it looks 2-dimensional, like it's left and right. It's not. It's a vortex, which is circular, like your DNA is circular, and it vortexes up. Everything in this hologram works like a vortex. And so we start to activate the left and right, or the magnetic and electrical ones first. And so then what happens next? Well, then you become consciously aware of these Kundalini channels. So now you have people who are focused on using the breath to activate the water. So you're using left and right first. Those happen automatically when we are in darkness. And so darkness brings life. And so your Kundalini may have rose up during times of darkness first. And now all of a sudden it's still firing up. And so, but now when you use the breath, you activate the water. And so that one fires up next, but then there's one inside of you. Now, the one inside of you, the light matter and the dark matter, that's a really interesting one because that one you tune into and it's directly connected into the time-space frequency wave, and you tune into it by accessing the 0 point. So the 0 point is a place in the lower chakra of the heart. There's 2 different chakras in the heart. There's an upper one and a lower one. When you scientifically understand the way the chakra systems work, the space between the nose and the chin, there's a chakra this far. And all the way down the body. And so you have one here, you have your pineal gland. You take the pineal gland, boom, there's a crown chakra. And so you take it, you go all the way down. There's a chakra in the top of the heart, there's a chakra in the bottom of the heart. We normally we say that they blend together, but that's not true. The chakra in the bottom place of the heart is directly connected into the higher self. And so when you were trying to make manifestations, think lower heart. And and that one, you have to. The chakra system is a vortex out to the front and a vortex out to the back. The vortex out to the front, when you are happy and in love, your shoulders kick back, your chest may open, you are happy and in love, you are accepting the energy of love, or you are even radiating out to another individual. And so when we give each other heart hugs, they're sending energy into your heart chakra and you're sending energy into their heart chakra. And so it works both ways. Now, the chakra in the back of the heart chakra is fear. And so when you feel an extreme fear-based emotional response, you will actually feel a pulse, which is your higher self embodying the heart chakra in the 0 point. But then that fear emotion pulses out the back of the heart chakra and it starts a cycle repeat. A cycle repeat, if you ever look at someone who is a low frequency, that person normally goes through the same experiences over and over again until they learn their lesson. It's not learning a lesson. It's changing your vibrational frequency into a more love-based emotional frequency. And so being at peace with something is actually raising the frequency because you're coming to peace with it. And so a lot of times when the same catastrophe keeps happening, you just get to a point, you're like, whatever, it's just going to keep happening. And so, but what do? You're releasing resistance, which then in turn allows the cycle to stop repeating. And so that's how you transmutate that cycle from repeating. But this is how that cycle starts. The higher self comes in and it pulses out the back. That's actually connected into the void and the dark matter system of the universal holographic frequency. And so when all these things work in combination, now all of a sudden there's different techniques to use magnets. And magnets can be used all over the physical form. You could take them from your chin up, over, and down the basic chakra system of the spinal cord, and do that about 10 times, and it starts to release the emotions that are generating the cycle repeats. So that's like, it's like a line jump, right? So you just skip the line, you use the magnet, you cleared yourself. However, you have meridian and ley lines, the star people are saying, and a lot of times you have blockages in different areas or internal organ systems, they are saying. And so you also have to go through with the conscious mind and your focus, place attention. So if you're feeling your kidneys and your kidneys are hurting, take the magnets, go over the kidneys, but really spend your focus on sending the kidneys love and light. And just imagine a vortex energetic coming from your heart chakra and just directly tuned into your kidneys, sending a higher frequency code. What you are doing is you are tuning into the binary codex frequency and you are making changes and modifications. Different manifestations of meditation techniques will also allow you to change the biological frequency instantaneously, the star people are saying. So what does that look like? That looks like you go into a meditative state and you access theta or lambda. And so when you're doing that, you're tuning into the higher self, which is tuning into the source frequency. And so you can draw in or coax. They're saying it's a coax. So it's kind of sensual. And so you are coaxing in more of the source frequency, which is a very high density frequency wave. And so you're pulling that into your physical form, which is changing the vibratory oscillation or frequency range, which then in turn allows you the perception of instantaneous healing. So in time, each and every one of my healers watching this, you guys are going to learn to, with your conscious mind, pull down this energy and send it to other people, thus changing the perception and healing the person instantly. However, that person and their higher self, they can choose to accept it or reject it, because all healing is self-healing. And so, but what you can do is a very advanced chi energetic healing modality. So learning to do that is of high value, because when you learn to project and pull down source frequency energy and learn to project it, there's different types of daydreams the star people are saying that we can get into. So a daydream really is a zone of perception in which you zone out and you feel like you were in a daydream. When you do that, your brainwave patterns are changing, they're shifting, they're raising their frequency. So you're tuning into a higher level consciousness when you're in the zone of a daydream. This is another jump start to get into 5D frequency, by the way, because when you're in that zone of daydream, you want to release resistance to the physical reality, and then all of a sudden you can generate a vortex field, a portal field, and so you can instantaneously teleport. This is true. I made sparkles, so I've seen it before, so I know that we can do it. Yeah. Okay, so just really quick, I'm going to tell you guys well, I do offer sessions, so you can find me at daniellelipton.com. And so, yeah, there's a whole session page. We are offering a monthly inner Zoom session. And so that's a little bit more economical, but it's open. Seats are open on that one. We're trying to really keep the Zooms small. This way, everybody has a chance to ask questions, and it's a little bit more intimate. So we used to run them once a month, and now we're doing them twice a month. And so I have a feeling that we're probably going to end up doing them every week. So we'll see how that goes. But seats are filling up fast. We just had 5 people order in this morning. So I would definitely get it, because once it reaches a certain level, we cut off the sales. So yeah, that one is on, let me just check, November 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Yes. Okay. So please like, share, and follow for more. It's really important to me that you guys maintain communication, because, you know, yada, yada, yada. Just put your email on the email list. So if anything gets cut off, we can still contact and communicate with you. There's a lot of information. I really want to get it all put out there so you guys can take the videos, store the videos, put them on your hard drive, save them for later, right? And I really don't mind. Share the information far and wide, because during the process of sharing the information, we can really change the evolution of humanity, right? So I don't mind. Take my words and share them out as far and wide as you can. And so, yeah, please go to daniellelipton.com, fill out the email subscription list. I also have, just in case my Facebook people, you know, with censorship, just go. I have a group called Star People Group. And so if the Facebook gets shut down at all, I can still post out in the group. And so you guys can still follow the material, because a lot of times new posts. And so DanielleLipton.com and the Tree of Life Organization.com, those are two Facebook pages in which I write out posts. And so they're very intricate. And you guys can go through, snap a screenshot or copy and paste and just save the information so you have it. And then this way you can learn from it. I don't mind, take it. And so just one more thing. I really wanted to grow and develop some type of system where we can share crystals, because I've noticed that I have 100 crystals. And so now all of a sudden you want to interact with new crystals, but you have so many, you don't want to buy new ones. So I'm coming up with a crystal giveaway program. And so what it is we have a PO box as of today. Yay. But you guys can send your donation crystals in. And then we have something on DanielleLipton.com, so you can buy the crystal package, and that covers the cost of shipping. But then we're going to be regifting the crystals that get sent in, and then I'm also going to be, overstuffing the boxes with tons of goodies that I like, and I'm like, oh, they need this and this and this, and so, and then each crystal that I send out, because I'm the one doing that, is also going to be, I sit down in meditation with the crystals, and then I do activations, I do healing frequencies in them, and then I have the Star People come in and do crystalline DNA activations. And so this way you guys can have something that was in my hand, I meditated with, I changed the frequency of, and so I know that these crystals can change your entire life. So that's it's a fun program that we're doing. That's also at DanielleLipton.com under Crystal Healing Package or Crystal Giveaway Package. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions? Because I can channel all night. I don't mind. Let's see. Okay. Perfect. Great idea. Magnet hoarder. Oh, me too. Me too. And I love orgonite. And so this is actually a piece of orgonite. I don't know if you guys can see, but yeah, let's see the copper. It has a little copper ring, some crystals. And so these things are wonderful because what they're doing is it's actually it's the DOR energetics. And so DOR, NOR, I think. And so what orgonite is it's actually layered material with inorganic and organic material. And then they put crystals in it in a copper spiral. And so what it's doing is it's actually playing with the energetics of the physical form. And so it's putting the positivity in your body so you start the healing process. Now, from having personal experiences with this particular piece, I can tell you with direct experiential knowledge, it has an impact on your emotion grids. And so maybe that's because my piece is actually longer, but I raised it so you guys can see it in the video. Normally I have it sitting right over my heart, which is where the emotion grid is. And so when you wear this, it's having an effect on your heart chakra. So anyone who's dealing with trauma, tragedy, emotions, you really can get one of these, and they're a little heavy to wear, but you wear it when you need it, or you throw it under your pillow so you have it. And so this way, it is having an effect. Now, we know that this type of energetics, like take the cell phones for an example. The cell phones are pumping out an energy that can potentially make us sick. This reverses that. And so a lot of people are coming to a place where they're taking smaller ones of these and they're gluing them to the cell phone case. And that's because it cross cancels the energetics and it keeps a happy one. Now, I personally walked into a spiritual shop and I had this on because I was wearing it all the time at that time. And so I had somebody take a cell phone and wave it over all of my chakras. Now, he was doing muscle testing. So what he did was he held my arm out straight and he pushed down and he saw how far my arm would go down. Then he took the cell phone and waved it over all of my chakras. And then he pushed down on my arm again. There was zero change. And so because there was zero change, he right away, his intuition went to the necklace and he was like, this thing is protecting you against the cell phone radiation. That's exactly what orgonite does. So if you can get a necklace of it, that's great. If you can get a tiny piece, maybe stick it under your pillow, make sure it's not a pyramid so you don't hurt yourself. I have orgonite next to my food. I have it inside my fridge. And so I mix it up. I put it, wherever I can put it. I put it everywhere. And so it's really good. Now, the Star People do not recommend wearing this constantly. You use it as a tool and then you hang it up on the wall or you put it somewhere next to you because it's kind of like constantly saging yourself. Or when cigarette smokers, they're using the cigarette smoke actually is rebalancing their emotion grids. And so when you have this on you, it's constantly rebalancing your emotion grid. So the second you take it off, if you've had it on for like 2 years and you take it off, you're going to have to learn to rebalance your emotions on your own. And so the star people recommend wear it for a week or two, take it off, right? Or even wear it for a day, take it off and see how you feel. Because if it starts to interact with the emotion grid too much, you're not going to learn how to be fully in control of your emotions. And so for me, I wore it for like 5 years, and it was rough taking the thing off. It was rough. I felt very emotional, very triggered, and so I know what it feels like. So just don't wear it all the time. Wear it, sporadically. Yeah, amazing. So let's see, what other questions do we have? Okay, energetic clearings was another big topic that has actually come across my page. And so, hold on a second, guys. I also use the organite to bless the water. And so when you start to use the organite, you can leave it next to the water overnight, or you put it on top. And what it's actually doing is it's generating a vortex energetic field. And so this is the same exact field as the Schumann resonance. It's vibrating a frequency up, which then in turn changes the frequency of the item in play. And so we can do this with our minds, but you could take a piece of organite, you could put it in your freezer. And so I'm a stay-at-home scientist mom, and that's what I do. And so when I first started playing with organite, I started putting it in the freezer to see the vortexes manifest into the water that was being frozen. And so I've seen it. Now, take that, it's 10 years later. So now we started taking the bottles of water and holding it up to our heart chakra and projecting that love-based emotion into the water. And guess what? It's a different form of a vortex when you do it from the heart chakra. It's more intricate, more tight. So you can tell if we had a high-powered microscope, we could probably stick the water when it was frozen under a microscope, and you would see a sacred geometric snowflake. And so you can do this with your heart. You do not need a tool or a free pass. Everything that you need is inside your body, because everything on the external, it is being manifest from the frequency inside of you. Yeah. What are the colors of the two heart chakras? It's a green and another green. And so it blends, right? And so it's yellow and green and then blue. And so you just imagine, because they're showing me the green and the blue kind of makes like an aqua color. And so the green below, and all the chakras kind of blend together. And so the way that the chakras go is it's a vortex that comes out, but there's an energetic grid that surrounds the entire physical form. And so many people can see aura fields. So what the aura field, what they're able to see is what emotional expression you are holding in the now moment. And so for an example, when you are feeling a love-based emotional frequency, your aura field may shift and turn green or green-blue. And so that is because you are communicating your love-based emotion. When you are in fear, let's say you are traumatized, then all of a sudden your aura field may radiate red. The energetic grid structures is how this process works. Inside each of the primary chakras, there is a tiny source frequency lens. A lens is the same as your eye. It's a lens. It allows you to see. So when you start playing with the chakra system, when the lens of that chakra system has density or a distortion on it, it changes your perception of the physical reality through that chakra system. So what does that look like? So let's say you have an imbalance in your root chakra. Well, you could feel a lack of abundance. You could feel maybe you don't have a house, maybe you don't have a car, maybe you're sick, your physical body is sick. And so these are all distortions in the root chakra source frequency lens. And so that source frequency lens, the star people told me to make a square. I don't know why we make a square. I just know they told me to make a square. And visualize inside the person's, we'll take the root chakra, because I always start from the bottom up. We take the root chakra, we make a square. We close our eyes, we see the root chakra. First, we balance it from left to right. And so a lot of times they're slid out to the right or out to the left. And so if it's the left, it's a feminine energetic imbalance. If it's out to the right, it's a masculine or a chi energetic, or the feminine is a magnetic energy imbalance. And so you can see this with technology too. You make the little square, you go into the center of the chakra and you pull out the energetic grid. So what does the energetic grid look like? Well, each one of the chakras have a different sacred geometric shape energetic grid. And so, but they overlap each other. So you have all the colors of the rainbow, they all overlap. So when someone sees your aura, they may see bright white. And then depending on what emotion, the emotion that you are holding is taking your perception and beaming it through a certain chakra color. because let's say, for an example, an emotion code of communication. So you may be over communicating because you have an imbalance in the throat chakra. So that communication, because it's an emotion, communication can be an emotion. And so your emotion is beaming out the blue chakra, which when the reader sees your aura field, she's going to see blue. And that means that you are communicating, right? And so this is the way this whole system works. So your perception shifts depending on your imbalances. Each one of the chakras has an energetic grid. When you pull out the energetic grid, you make the square, you pull it out. And then all of a sudden you have a look, and you have to close your eyes and have a look through your third eye at the person that you were trying to rebalance. And so what I do is I have a look at their grid that surrounds their body. If there's any density, black marks, or distortions in the front of the physical form, then I know that those are emotions that they are dealing with right now in the moment. And so this could have even been recently, right? It's still right now. It's in front of them. It's something that they have to deal with to get to the next level. If it's something in the back of the energetic grid, that means that it's from their past. And so it could be the childhood, adolescence, it could be 6 months before. It's in their past that needs to be healed because it's changing who they are in the now moment. If there's any density in the left side, that's the feminine magnetic energy. In the right side is electrical male energy. And so when you start putting all of these systems together, then you start looking at each and every grid structure. And then all of a sudden, high, medium, and low, they also have me look at. And so where's the disturbance going to land? Is it going to land in the top portion of their body, the torso, or the legs? And so you can start to, you can pull so much information by just looking at someone's energetic grids. And then not only that, but you can feel, because we're all empaths, we can feel the emotion codes that the people are radiating constantly. And so and this is why I couldn't do the star families, because they had me doing star families, like all the guides, who's my guides. And I was doing that for person after person after person. But what's actually happening is you are using your consciousness to tune into each person's energetic grids, and you're finding the star family who's in attunement. And then they always step forward when you look at the attunement that's on the energetic grid. And so this process happens instantly. So we don't realize what we're doing, but this is how it works. This is the knowledge that's behind the curtain, the star people are saying. And so you're tuning into their energetics. You're able to pull apart their entire memory grid as well, because the memory grids are your emotion grid, which is in the heart, as well as your thought grid, which is in the mind or the pineal gland. And so those two grids, this one is yellow, this one is blue. You put them together, the memory grid is green, and it makes an icosahedron shape. And so when you close your eyes, you don't have to close your eyes, the star people are saying, but when you tune in to another individual's memory grid, you can see a very high emotion memories first will usually come forward, they're saying. And so let's say they have any traumas or tragedies. This is the reason why it's so easy to read people's pain. And so the pain also, they're saying it fires off first, or it's stronger, or it's brought to the surface by the healer specifically, so that the healer can place attention and focus and try and assist in the healing process. Yeah, that makes sense. Excellent. Yeah. Does anybody have any more questions? This is amazing. I thought I was going to panic this entire video. I didn't panic once. Okay. If you were to see me, it would be a time. Okay, what is the meaning behind electric shocks every time you touch items? That's a really good question, because I was in a spiritual shop once and I went to trip. I didn't go to trip on purpose. I was tripping. So I was in the middle of falling. And so there was someone in a chair and I touched him. As I touched him, I didn't fall. I had saved myself. And I was like, yeah, I got this. Right. But then all of a sudden he got a whole electric zap. And so at that point I was like, what happened? Why did that happen to him? Right. And so some people are actually, they have very high chi energetics. And this happened. All of us can start to work with the chi energetics and we can get up to that level. And so for me, it's just a natural ability. I've also made lightning before on accident. And so that's coming from your chi energetics. It's electrical in nature. We are electric beings. So when I had touched him, what the star people had said was my chi energetics, because my emotions were fired up because I was on the way to fall. So I was distributing an emotional response as I touched him. So the chi energy, it pulsed all of his energetic grids, but the star people said he needed it, because what had happened to him was he got a blast of chi energetics, which then started to heal or remove the distortions in his energetic grid structure. And so you take a look at that. Like, we all can do this. This is Reiki energy healing. And so each and every one of us can do it. But when you really start to throttle it up, it turns into electricity. So in time with working with the chi energetics, each and every person should be able to hold a light bulb and turn it on, because we are electrical beings. The sun is giving us a form of electricity. And so it hits the earth, and then the earth, it gives us a Schumann resonance, and that Schumann resonance fills the chi energetics in the human form. That is what the star people are saying. Yeah, I used to get shocks from running water and walls. Yes. And so that you can do that too. You can also put electricity in the water, and it changes the state of the water. Water can also be in a plasma state. And so the plasma state is very important. The star people are stepping forward saying, Earth has plasma balls in it, which are shifting and changing per solar energetic frequencies. And so the human body or form also contains plasma in the blood. That plasma subsystem is directly connected into the memory grids of each primary individual. So certain individuals have attunements to plasma grids, which basically means that they have an attunement to the Akashic records, as well as the human consciousness grids, which contain the memory of all time and space for this particular timeline that you are all standing upon right now. So that individual who has a plasma ability is going to be able to close their eyes, or you don't have to, but close your eyes and tune into the memory grids of another individual, or they're saying you can project through the plasma subsystems, which allow you to implant memories into individuals. And now that they just said all that, I'm thinking about 2 movies where I've seen hypnotists in the movies, and they're like, da, 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 and they implant memories, and that's MK Ultra. They could do that too. They're saying it's done through the plasma in the blood. Now, that makes a lot of sense, because the blood actually, we have DNA hard drives. And so you can take all the information on the World Wide Web, and you can put it on a teeny, teeny, tiny drop of blood. And so this is also how the instantaneous teleportation devices, the technological ones, work that the star people use. And so they say they can take your physical form, and they can break down your atoms and molecules here. And so, but what they're doing is they are transporting the atoms and molecules. So this old version of you is dead. And then the new version of you, they reanimate here. So it seems like it is you teleporting to another location. However, if the memory grid is not intact, then the person's memory gets wiped. And so they basically become a newborn all over again. Isn't it wonderful? And so what they have learned to do is they tune into the memory grid of the individual, and then they capture the frequency of the memory grid, which is all thoughts, all emotions up until the now moment. And when they teleport, now they just transfer over the memory grid. So now your consciousness feels like it just teleported from one location to the next. And so that is how that technology works. Of course, they have the bugs figured out. I don't know if we do yet. I'm pretty sure humanity probably does too. So yeah, it's amazing. The technology is amazing. However, what I find even more amazing is that we can do anything that the technology can do. We can do it with our mind. And so we do not need technology. Technology is just there because it is a baby stepping stone in the process of evolution. And so the normal process of evolution is you come down, you develop the technology, and then it allows you to see it manifest into your physical reality. And so what does that mean? Take a replicator. I just went to the replicator. I replicated a pen. I didn't really do this. I don't have a replicator. I'm a stay-at-home mom. You go to the replicator, you get yourself a pen. Now, all of a sudden, you're training your subconscious mind to anytime I need a pen, it's here. I can instantaneously get access to one. So what does that do to your consciousness? The more and more and more that you have the experience of instantaneously manifesting this pen, then all of a sudden, one day you won't need to use the replicator to do it, because you'll just close your eyes and you'll believe that you have it. And all of a sudden it will show up in your hand. And so this is how powerful that we are. The physical reality is a holographic simulation. And so when you really understand what that looks like, you start to shift your perception. And so your perception, the way that we can start to instantaneously manifest items is like this, with the belief that I have a pen. And so all you have to do, close your eyes, or you don't have to. The star people are saying if you don't want to, So, and just believe that you have it. And so the way that it's going to manifest in your reality in the beginning is going to be a person may come over to you and put the pen in your hand. And so that allows the belief systems to manifest that way. The more and more that you see the belief systems of, I believe I have it, someone's going to put it in my hand, then all of a sudden you won't need the experience of a person to put in your hand, because your higher self will take control of the time, space, frequency wave, and your consciousness will shift through time and space into a parallel reality in which you already had the pen. And so that's how instantaneous manifestations work. Yeah, beautiful. We all can do this too, by the way. It is nothing special, except it is really special, except each one of us is equal. And so every single one of us can do any one of these abilities. Now, a lot of times, the star people want to make this clear to people too. Each and every person has attunements to extra sensory abilities. That means that these are the gifts that you can unlock first. However, your zone of focus can change the attunements anytime that you see fit. So here's one example. I have a lot of people who could change the weather. And so that's something that most people can do, but some people have a more elevated gift with the weather patterning. And so, but some people may look at that gift and they're like, I don't want that gift, right? Like that's not something that they really want. That's what they're attuned to magnetically. That would be easier for them to unlock. However, when a person like that, and I've never had a person like that, never. But if a person did come across my desk and they didn't want that gift, then the next step would be, well, what do you want? What do you want to learn how to unlock? So by placing your zone of focus on any extrasensory ability or gift, you can unlock it, because you have to realize the way that human beings manifest. We are beings of light energy. And so the process of manifestation is the belief system. So do you believe that you can manifest that gift? Do you believe that you can have it? Do you believe that it could be in this lifetime? How long it takes you to manifest is completely up to your belief systems. So start asking your belief systems questions. How long is it going to take me to unlock this, right? How many times do I have to focus on bending the spoon before it is going to bend? Ask yourself, do the muscle testing. Right? Is it going to take me 6 months? Yes. Is it going to take me 3 months? No. Okay. So then you do the muscle testing on yourself and figure out where your belief systems are, because your belief systems are going to show you where the veil system is and what beliefs need to be changed to allow you to manifest it instantaneously in the now moment. And so whatever you put your focus on, you can manifest into your life. And the process of writing and visualizing and seeing and really putting your heart into. So if somebody really wants to have the ability to move magnets or move metal, put your focus on it. Write it out. I can move metal. Did you guys see that? That was cool. I can move metal with my mind, right? Or I can instantaneously teleport. And so try that out when you get in a car. Try being really, really happy. If you have an hour drive and you're really, really happy, time seems to fly. But block out the clock so you can't see the time. Now, how long did the trip actually take in? How much gas did you use? Because a lot of times you can shift into a parallel reality in which the trip only took you a half hour and you only used a quarter of a tank of gas. This is possible. We can do this. I've done it. I know you guys can do it too. Everyone can do it. So amazing. Okay, so we are going to say good night. And so thank you guys so incredibly much for coming. Thank you for all the comments, and thank you so incredibly much for listening. If anybody has any questions, please go right to daniellipton.com. In the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see a little like a little message box thing that you can put your question in, and it goes right to my phone. And so this way I can get your messages, I write them down, and then I can, give them on the lives. It's so much easier than answering them per message. So yeah. And then just don't forget daniellipton.com. I do offer sessions. So we do evolution sessions or star people family sessions. And so I'm also offering healing sessions. And so this is really near and dear to my heart. So anyone who has any trauma, I call in your star family and my star people, and we go through and we try and heal the energetic grids together. And so it's a very extensive energetic process of diving into each one of the grids, clearing the thought grids, the emotion grids, all this stuff. And it's really a release. And so I've seen so many people completely transform their entire life by having one of the sessions. So I know it's very, very beneficial to people. There's nothing more important to me than healing people and allowing them to unlock the extrasensory abilities, because it's a domino effect. The second a handful of us unlocks these gifts, it's over. Everyone's going to want to start focusing on it. And, the way to unlock them is by coming into a heart space, love-based emotional frequency, which is perfect, because when you're heart space and in love, or trying to love every single thing around you, you are not trying to cause harm to anybody or anything. And so to me, it's just like the best. I have the best job. It's just amazing. Yeah. So thank you guys very, very much. The Star People private group Zoom is November 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we still have a couple seats left. We do try and keep the Zooms very small. And this way, each person gets to interact and ask me their questions. So it's more like a one-on-one. I can kind of see the comments, but it's a little, yeah. So it's better to do it during the Zoom, because you guys can ask your questions directly. And so, yeah, we have an email subscription list. Thank you for liking, sharing, and following. And on Facebook, we have the group, Star People Group. And so you guys can find me there. If there's ever a problem with censorship, I can still post out into the group, which is amazing. And thank you guys so incredibly much. Many, many love and blessings. Thank you so much for tuning in. And you guys have a wonderful night. Okay.